Welcome back to the channel, everyone. My name is Blue Yeagers, and today, despite me being a Yeagerist, I'm going to explain why Mikasa is the best female character in Attack on Titan. Now, I've taken a lot of flack for this, from both ending haters and ending defenders alike. Look at you, Binger. Now, I want to get a few things out of the way first. This is going to be a very nuanced video, like all my videos, so please don't assume what I'm saying. Watch the whole thing. Hear me out. Put on your thinking cap, all that good stuff. Because my opinion on this is unconventional, unorthodox, and quite complex. For some, maybe you don't think it's quite complex, but for others, it might seem that way. So, just try to hear me out. Try to listen, and don't start, man. So now the other thing, especially with preceding that prior statement. I am not going to say and lie to you and say that Mikasa is an one-dimensional character. Mikasa is absolutely 100% a one-dimensional character. In every sense of the word, especially if you consider the fact that she's a main character. So, I'm not going to lie to you guys here today. I believe Mikasa is an objectively good character, again. I'm going to be able to prove that to you with logic. So I don't feel the need to lie at all. And you know what? I wouldn't have it any other way. Mikasa is perfect just as she is. But we'll talk about that later. Now, what is my criteria for a good character? Right? Now, when you're judging something, a story, a character, you're going to judge it based on its purpose. And we're going to use one of my famous analogies, and this one I think is actually going to be really good. How do you know what a good quarterback is? A good quarterback is the quarterback that wins the most games, right? That's the purpose. It's not to have the prettiest throwing motion, to get the most rushing yards, to get the most passing yards. Whoever wins most games, that's who you know a good quarterback is. But the character, what is the character's purpose, and how well does he accomplish it, and how important it is, right? So that leads me to my next point. There's three reasons why I say Mikasa is a objectively good character. Again, using that lens of what is a purpose. Because remember, a quarterback does not necessarily have to have the most passing yards, have to have the most passing touchdowns, highest QBR, whatever metric to be the best quarterback, objectively speaking, by winning games. Same thing with a character. People say to me all the time, "Oh, Mikasa's a bad character because she's one-dimensional." Yeah, I know she's one-dimensional, but she's winning all the games. They'll say, "Oh, she has no character development." I know she has low character development. However, as you can clearly see, she's first in her division. So on and so forth. So people are looking at these things like, for example, and here's the reason why I bring up the football analogy, is because the passing yards, the passing touchdowns, whatever. Those are means to an end. Having the highest passer rating is not the goal when you're playing football. Winning the most games is. It's a means to an end. It's not the end. People say Mikasa has poor character development. That's not the end. That's a means to an end that Mikasa could circumvent. And she did circumvent it, and she accomplishes her purpose perfectly, and she couldn't accomplish her purpose without it. So again, back to my three main reasons. Mikasa accomplishes her purpose flawlessly. Number two, Mikasa's purpose is central to the story of Attack on Titan and the message of Attack on Titan. That's how you know what a good story is. You judge it by its purpose. Purpose is to send a message. Okay, moving on. The third reason why Mikasa is the best female character in Attack on Titan, and one of the best characters in Attack on Titan, in Attack on Titan period, and anime manga period, is that the lesson and the message is so very applicable and important. So a person can use it on an individual level, and it can deeply affect their lives. So starting with point number two. Obviously, Mikasa is important to Eren the Titan Curse, which is one of Eren's main motivations to do the rumble in the first place. It also leads to his death. And of course, Ymir was keeping the Titans around, which started the story in the first place, because she was, a slave to love, just like Mikasa. So obviously, very simple, straightforward. Point number 2 is obviously checkmarked for Mikasa. But so her purpose is important, but how does she fulfill her purpose? How does she execute her purpose? Mikasa's purpose in Attack on Titan is to show how to love. That is her character. There's a couple of things with this, and now we're going to subsections. 2 things with that. The first dilemma she's in. Actually, this dilemma will be overarching over her entire character, right? She's unconditional love for Eren. And her unconditional love is beautiful and it's good. It's good that she unconditionally loves him, right? And, the unconditional love is a phrase, so it's you hear it a lot and you sort of atrophy to its meaning. Just to give everyone a refresher. The thing we all cherish and praise, that we uphold, and appears plainly to us as order of natural law that it should be deemed good. That which is unconditional love is love that no matter what you do, how you feel about the other person, what you think, what you feel, who you are, no matter what, under literally no condition, no matter how bad it gets, that person will love you. That's what unconditional love is. Okay? And so that is good and beautiful because it has this. The problem is that Eren is doing the rumbling, doing something evil, something that Mikasa detests. She didn't do as much as she should have done, but I believe it's 127, Mikasa states quite plainly, "I want to stop the rumbling no matter what it takes." Paraphrasing, of course, but it was something amounting to that. Trust me, it wouldn't lead you astray. So she's disgusted by the rumbling. She doesn't like the rumbling. But the person who is doing it, her lover, is doing it. And so now it's not just the complexity of her having to kill him, right? For that. That's great in and of itself, right? Because one of the other things about Mikasa, she shows if you love someone, you don't necessarily give them everything they want. For example, I compare Eren to a drug addict all the time. And I'll do my Eren character analysis. Stay tuned. Eren's like a drug addict, right? He's a slave to freedom. So the freedom, and I'm not gonna go too much into this. I'm talking mostly to the EDs here. I'm trying to preach to the choir. If you want to talk about Yeager, Berg, and Eren being free, we've got to have that conversation. But right now, for the sake of argument, I'm just gonna roll in with this presupposition just for the sake of the video. So the freedom to Eren's like heroin, so to speak. It's something he's a slave to himself, who is compelling himself to do things he doesn't want to do, and they have negative effects on him in his life, yet he still does it anyway. And so Mikasa sort of stopping him, putting him out of his misery, cutting his supply, right? And that was the most loving thing to do. And that right there is obviously a great message, and it shows exactly how you must go about these things. Right. And the other thing, this is something that people have criticized. People say at the end of the book, it's sort of like it's glorifying mass murder, glorifying Eren. And they're wrong. Obviously, it's not glorifying what Eren did or mass murder, because the scene is when she's saying she misses him. That's a negative thing. That's a negative thing caused by Eren's own actions. So it's obviously not glorifying it, but it is glorifying something that I also think is very important for people to take note of. It's the fact that Mikasa, after Eren committed this horrible sin, this evil, treacherous, disgusting thing, the show is absolutely 100% glorifying her missing him, her loving him. Right? Because unconditional love is beautiful and it's great and it's not a problem. That's what the show's trying to say. The love itself is not a problem. It's what she does on account of that love that may or may not be a problem. That's the lesson it's trying to show. So that's why the job is done. He's dead. He's not doing anything. He's faced his punishment. He's not going to do anything else to anybody. So Mikasa is free and she's glorified for doing so, for missing him, trying to, I guess, be with him in spirit, comfort him, so to speak. and it shows in, and I think that's a great thing to show the audience, and Mikasa portrays it wonderfully. The other thing it accomplishes is it humanizes Eren, and it brings more layers to bad people. That's another thing that's applicable, right? Because if you were to think of Hitler, right? Architect of the Holocaust. Ted Bundy's. Who's Ted Bundy? Oh, Ted Bundy's a serial killer. Who's Bill Gates? Oh, he's an entrepreneur. Who's Tom Brady? A football quarterback. Right? That's who they are, right? Ted Bundy is a serial killer, right? But to Mikasa it's different, because Mikasa loves Eren, and so she has a different perspective, and she's a perspective that is something that we should all really consider. I'm going to say consider, we should all consider, is that she sees deeper than that, and she knows all the good things about Eren, right? So Eren is not, oh, he's a genocider. Eren's not a genocider. Eren is doing a genocide. You want compassion? Move on. Those are completely different. Because one is, that's your identity. I look at you, I have a blank slate, and I fill it in, okay, that's who you are. You are a genocider. To Mikasa, Eren is Eren, and he's doing a genocide. That's part of him. It's not him. Eren is Eren. Okay? And it shows that, and one of the things I think that may, albeit unintentionally, show is, nonetheless it's a good lesson, is the fact that evil people have people who love them. And they should be able to express their feelings. And maybe it is intentional, because you follow Mikasa, right? You follow, whether you're in Alliance or whether you're on the Yeager side, you follow both of the characters. So if you like Mikasa and you think Mikasa's an overall, considering, on a graded on a curve, and Mikasa's a good person, and you're fond of her, and you see her doing that, you say, okay, well, she can do what with Eren, that anyone can do it with anyone. As a random example, like Saddam Hussein or Bin Laden, when they die, like, there's people who genuinely love them. To you, Bin Laden is just the guy who did 9/11. But, so to his loved ones, if they, I'm not gonna get too complicated, but if they did think that it was bad, he did the 9/11, not that he's the one who did 9/11. The identity is different. And so I think that's another, very great, very complex thing. And the last thing, the second thing, which is completely separate. So we have that thing going. We have the whole crazy situation where Mikasa has to kill her lover because of the rumbling. And then we have this whole thing where she has to move on from Eren, because Mikasa, despite what people would like to tell you, Mikasa had an unhealthy obsession with Eren, and she absolutely was a slave to love, right? And we see this in even before the training arc, the Feel Titan arc, the Trost arc. Again, her love wasn't the problem. Her love was always glorified, always looked upon as good. The problem is when she got Captain Levi injured, when she was irresponsible and Trost, except when she was disobeying direct orders, had to get headbutted, etc., etc. So she's obviously shown to have that issue. And the question becomes, how do I have these feelings and manifest them in a good way? Because the feelings themselves are good. There's a problem that's manifesting to have her having an unhealthy obsession or being a slave to Eren, or a slave to love. And I think this shows it perfectly. And one of the things I like to note that goes overlooked about Mikasa's character is the fact that, as parallels with Ymir, after she killed Eren, she still wasn't free of her, she wasn't fully free, right? She didn't fully get over her issues. That wasn't fully concluded, so to speak. And I like that Isayama does that, because it takes time. When people are writing stories, people are reading stories especially, they get too caught up in the theatrics. Having that epic moment in 122 where Eren embraces Ymir, people think, the nice, satisfying theatric moment, that should be enough. That should be the key, right? Mikasa kills Eren. This big dramatic moment, that should be the key. Well, no, real life is actually not like that. It takes multiple experiences, multiple times of learning, and then it's mostly in subtle ways that it gets finished off. And so Mikasa is not fully free in chapter 138. Right? It's in 139 where she actually gets free, and then we see her expressing the perfect way to love. That's her Mikasa at her best, having the unconditional love and not having any negative side effects. And one of the things I'd like to point out is that lots of people say, since Mikasa still had her scarf when she got married to Jean, and she 100% absolutely did get married to Jean. And before you guys get too angry, and before I go too much into this other topic, I would like to just lay this out for you guys. You guys are saying that Mikasa, the girl boss, the girl who got over Eren, and is a free independent woman, this girl kept herself a virgin for late into her 90s to keep herself for a dead man. That's what you're saying. And if you're saying that she adopted kids, well, you're saying that she purposefully handicapped her kids and herself on account of a dead man. I would just really like you guys to think through the implications of that. Because I don't think that so. And she definitely married John. I'm not going to go too much further into that. But people like to say that the scarf, her having the scarf, is bad. And I, of course, was beaming ear to ear. I really, really, really love the fact it shows her having that memento, because it's being real. It's being real. If you have someone in your life that's important to you, you're not going to forget them. They're always going to be with you. So Mikasa has it in her heart, has Eren in her heart, that Eren is occupying an appropriate amount of space in her life and has an appropriate amount of influence on her life. She's figured it out. She has a little scarf, but she's devoted to her husband. She's devoted to her kids. She's raised her kids. She stayed married to her husband for decades. So that shows a lot. Shows a lot of character. But speaking of that, speaking of forgetting, I would also like to remind people of the small little detail. Is that Mikasa, the meaning of the scarf changes. And we actually know this for a fact. People are going to roll their eyes. They're going to say, oh, it's an ending defender talking point that Mikasa's scarf changed. So show me the proof. I'll show you. But even before 138, the meaning of the scarf changed. Because she took it off in 112. So whatever the scarf meant to her when she put it on, it did not mean the same thing because she took it off. Right? So the meaning of the scarf already changed. So actually, the meaning of the scarf has to change because she puts it on again. And I think it's very fitting to show where she put it on. She puts it on after Eren gets his height marks, after Eren says, be free and forget about me. That's when she pulls out her scarf, because she knows this is her after she comes to terms with killing him and saying she won't forget Eren. Then, and only then, does she take her scarf out of her blouse. Which means that the scarf, I feel very confident saying that the scarf now means, and you can say it's head canon all you want, but objectively speaking, the scarf did change because she took it off. The scarf now means remembering Eren after he's dead. It's a symbol, it's a physical symbol of her memory of Eren and her affection towards Eren, and peace with the fact that he's dead. That's what the scarf means. Now, because that's when she took it off, and that's like she was saying. And so, actually, when Mikasa is with Jean, and she has a scarf on, it's not her disrespecting the marriage. It's not her still being attached to Eren. It's a physical representation of the memory and the fond memory she has of Eren. That's why I say Mikasa is a very precise character. She has to take a very specific amount of actions. It manifests into this beautifully written, meticulous character. Now, for the third thing, the lesson is applicable. It's super applicable. This is one of the most applicable lessons in the show. And, because especially since a lot of people who watch Attack on Titan are younger, lots of people are going to have situations where you have family members or people who are close to you that die before you. And that's a tough thing to deal with because there's a temptation to do something crazy and be all obsessive and, you know, carry their ashes in your hand 24/7 and yada yada yada. And so, and it's something that, you know, if you love someone who's not, you know, particularly on the up and up morally, it's another situation to deal with. It's a common situation, and it's a tough situation, and it's an important situation. It's one of the most important things in the world. And Mikasa, I mean, is she the best character in the world that's showing it? Okay, obviously not. But from what we see in AOT, what we see in those last pages, you know, just that small amount can go a long way. That small amount has a lot of meaning. Because Mikasa, the thing about Mikasa is that, and Eren too, and we'll get to that in a second, is that her moments are built up. All right, and then all of a sudden, a panel can just instantly transfer like a bunch of information, a bunch of meaning. Right? For example, the freedom panel for Eren, you know, a bunch of moments built up. Chapter 2, Chapter 6, Chapter 72, Chapter 54, Chapter 84. Instantly into her consciousness is all these moments that led up to this moment and all the depth and meaning of what this means, right? So with Mikasa, to see her going to the grave with her family, with the scarf, you have instantly all of that meaning I just talked about. All that is just seen in that one panel. And it's because she's been built up like that. And the last thing that I'll say is, one of the last things is that the biggest thing about Mikasa, people say, one of the biggest things I hear is that she basically stayed the same person from start to finish. Now, obviously, I think that just what I said in this video alone is enough to debunk all the stupid arguments. But I would like to say specifically about this, specifically about Mikasa not having any development, is the fact that, A, she kind of did in the manga. If you read the manga, she gets more development in the anime. Besides that, because Mikasa had to be exactly the way she is, or else she couldn't free Ymir. Right? Because the Titans existed. The Titans existed. After 123, the story was locked in. You can't change the story anymore. Why did Ymir continue to serve King Fritz after she had the upper hand? Why? It's a mystery. Something has to get settled. And Mikasa is the only way that she could free Ymir is by proving that she is absolutely 100% dedicated, obsessed, whatever word we want to use, to Eren. She will do anything for him. And it has to be demonstrated like that throughout the entirety, till the very end. Right? I'd call her crockpot character. This is a term made up, a character archetype made up. Okay, crockpot character. It may already have a name, but colloquially we'll just say crockpot character. And it says, you put it in the crockpot, you marinate it, you let it just sit and sit and sit and sit and sit and sit and sit. And after an extended period of time, it will be perfect and tasty. But if it was quicker, it would have been a problem. If Mikasa got over her feelings for Eren and loved Eren in a healthy way and returned to Shiganshia, we would not have a story at all in AOT. So Mikasa killing Eren to free Ymir is one of the most brilliant things I've ever seen in fiction. One of the most brilliant plot devices, plot twists, mechanics, whatever you want to say. And it could not be any other way for Mikasa. And again, her purpose is to show how to love. And she accomplishes that just fine without having, super intricate development like Gabby or Restoria.
And so I hope that if you go back and you look through and looking at it from the perspective of what is this character's purpose, not who has the fanciest character development, go back and you look at, objectively speaking, which character serves their purpose the best, which character's purpose is the most important. You can clearly see among all the female characters, Mikasa is far and away better than all the other female characters in that regard, making her the best female character in the show. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hearing me out. Make sure to like and subscribe. Join the subreddit. Links will be in the description. And I'll see you in my next video.